Welcome to the Pirate Broadcast, where we interview interesting people doing interesting things, where you can expand your connections, your community. Kindness is cool and smiles are free. And let's get this party started. Holy cow, we got another Pirate Broadcast today. Hey, I want to welcome you and thank you, all the gratitude in the world for you joining us today. We're going to have an amazing program and share a few nuggets of knowledge. And, kindness is cool, smiles are free is what I always say. And I mean that because I want to be able to share something with you that might educate, inspire, motivate you to do something else along the way and along your journey. And today we're going to be talking to Jim, a brand new pirate in the room, and talking about some of the things that a retired intelligence officer might consider and think about as he's building courses and assisting and coaching other people along their journey. So, Jim, good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning, Russ. I'm great. How are you?
Not too bad. Not too bad. Well, let's get the party started. Thank you,
Sure.
First and foremost, for serving in the military and serving the country. I know that there's a lot of time and effort that's spent in serving our country, and I just want to thank you and appreciate you for your service and thank you. How long were you in the military?
I served for 27 years.
27 years.
Retired as a lieutenant colonel.
Wow! Congratulations. That's
Thank
a
you.
bit of time.
Yeah, it was honestly, it was my honor and privilege. I worked with a lot of great people, did a lot of interesting things, had a lot of fun.
Any interesting stories or places that you visited that you can share with us?
Well, I did 2 deployments. I went to Iraq. While I was there, we also went over to Afghanistan, and I was working as a chief of intelligence for the U.S. Special Forces. And I went to Guantanamo Bay for a deployment where I got to sit across the table from some of our enemies and discuss things with them. So, yeah.
That had to be
an interesting career.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was. It was. A lot of the people I saw there had been there for about 5 years, so they, it's not a great thing to be incarcerated for that long, and I could sympathize with them not being very
challenging,
cooperative.
Very challenging. Yeah. So you retire, you get out, and then all of a sudden you're faced with this dilemma of like, I've been doing this thing for over 20 years. Now what do I do? So walk us through the next steps. What was the journey after the journey?
Well, I was a reservist, so I retired 10 years ago, and just started collecting my retirement pay last year. So there's a little bit of a difference with when reservists retired. I had a civilian career also. I did some consulting work and worked for IBM, worked for small consulting companies, worked for myself. So I had retired after doing 7 years of active duty, and when I got out, the economy wasn't that great. It was hard to find work. I just took, all kinds of different jobs. I did retail. I did work for the DOD. I worked as a sales and support person for a service provider, internet service provider, and it was stressful. It was hard to find steady work. I had a little bit of PTSD that I'm discovering now. It's And I'm almost embarrassed to say it because I know a lot of my brothers and sisters out there have real serious issues. Mine's pretty mild, but it affected my ability to perform well on the job. So 10 years later, I'm still, kicking and screaming my way along and trying to move forward. And I've got a lot of experience. I've studied leadership ever since I was in, college when I started back in 1979.
Uh-huh.
And so I've decided to use that experience to develop my coaching and consulting practice. And that's where I am today, working on getting clients and getting my products out there and my offers up and running.
It's and first and foremost, I know that trauma experiences and challenging events, especially in the military, I can't even fathom some of the experiences you've gone through. So I want to make sure that people understand that this is a real challenge for a lot of people, and I have to believe, Jim, that you have the experience that could help other people in similar situations, or people that are in even corporate environments, because of the experience you've achieved and acquired. Because until you go through that, I mean, you've led men and individuals through a lot of situations, as an officer.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to believe that that's a situation that you can transfer that knowledge, that information into the civilian world. So
and I want to make everybody aware of two really important things regarding PTSD. It doesn't just affect military. A lot of people think that. I've met civilians who have undergone their own personal traumas, and rape victims, things like that. And then the other big thing we have to really be aware of is sexual trauma in the military, and what the women, my sisters in arms, are dealing with, like being harassed and raped, and how the military law works or doesn't work to serve them, to protect them. So if anybody wants to get more information on any of this, they can always, hit me up.
Well, with that, now that you're a pirate and you're part of the pirate community, I want people to reach out to you. What's your preferred method of connecting with individuals?
The easiest way is to reach me on LinkedIn, and it's linkedin.com/in/Jim Vasconcellos, all one word, or they can email me at jim.vasconcellos@gmail.com. So just anybody.
And we'll put all of those in the show notes and everything.
Great.
You can always find all the pirate content at russjohns.com/pirate broadcast. So, Jim, I want to talk a little bit about the leadership piece, because I think right now in the U.S. and around the world, I get the sense that leadership is needed more now than any other time that I've seen it. I mean, maybe it's just where I am in my life, and maybe it's just what is propelled to us in the media and everything else. I try to avoid being swayed by that, and it's almost impossible to avoid something in the news where something's going on. And I want to talk a little bit about leadership and how it's impacted by its absence, and how it can change in circumstances that are challenging. Because I don't know, it seems like there's a vacuum here that we need some leaders to fall into. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. Well, I think my biggest concern regarding leadership is that, and this was a surprise to me when I started my doctoral studies, the gurus out there have created this huge turf battle of what leadership is, or what it's supposed to be. It's like, well, you can't be a leader unless you're an authentic leader. No, you have to be a servant leader. No, you have to be a transformational leader. No, real leaders are transactional. And I think people get too wrapped up in the definitions and the frameworks and which one do I do and which one's right. And it's not that difficult. It's not that confusing. It's hard to do well, and it takes practice, and you got to have a lot of self-awareness, but it's really about the people who follow you.
Yeah.
And that's about it. And you can do everything you need to do to be a good leader if you pay attention to them and how they're doing and what they're reacting from. Yeah. So the first leadership lesson that I learned from the military was in ROTC, and they made it very clear to us that, hey, when you graduate, you're going to be a lieutenant, you're going to be an officer, you're going to outrank every single enlisted person in the entire military. You don't get to act like it. And that just made sense, because I'm not going to go into any job where everybody there, even if they just got there the day before, has more experience than me and act like I know what's going on.
Yeah.
That was the first lesson. And then the best lesson in leadership that I ever learned was I got put in a position where I had a chief master sergeant, highest enlisted rank in the Air Force, and he had 27 years of experience, and came into my shop, introduced everybody, and after that he said, "Come on, sir, let's sit down and talk." And during that conversation he said, "Let me ask you a question. If the commander came up to you and said, Lieutenant Vasconcellos wants you to put up a flagpole right here, what would you do?" And I started to answer like it was an engineering problem. Dig a hole this deep and figure out how deep to bury it gets. And he stops me and says, "No, that's not what you do." And I said, "Okay, what would I do?" And he said, "You'd come to me and you'd say, 'Chief, get this flagpole put up.' And then I'd turn to the sergeant and I'd say, 'Dig a hole right there, this deep, get the cement.'" And I said, "Okay, I understand." And
delegate or die.
Yeah, in that 2-minute conversation, it was, there's a system in place to put people in their jobs. So somebody's decided that they know what their job is. I should know what mine is and where it ends. And my job is to tell people what to do and help them get it done by giving them what they need. And that's leadership.
Yeah.
In a nutshell for me. I have not learned in any of my formal education throughout 27 years in the military, or my master's degree or my doctoral studies, anything that contradicts that. And I've read a ton of stuff. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's a great lesson, because if you break it down in simple terms, it's and entrepreneurs, especially freelancers, when they're first starting out, they're used to wearing so many hats all by themselves, and they really can't become a business owner until you start delegating this responsibility to other people and start giving other people opportunities to grow and share and build on their career. And I think that's really what great leaders do, is they deliver opportunities to improve other people's lives.
Absolutely.
And through that process, you can follow people. They want to know how to get to the next step. They want to know where their journey is going to take them. They want to have a vision. And I think leadership and vision has a lot of it coincides. It's not to say that the leadership at a place, a certain task, or a certain environment, I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to do anything with the title. You can be equally gifted or equally burdened by the situation, and whoever takes the role of saying, "Here's where we're going, let's go," can be designated the leader at that moment.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There's a there's a key concept called self-leadership that fits that. Everybody has a responsibility to do their job and to know where they fit in the context of everybody else doing their jobs. So yeah, take responsibility and do your job well, lead yourself first, and help others. To put a really fine point on something you said, we had a saying in the Air Force: you don't delegate responsibility, you delegate authority. Ultimately, the buck stops with the leader. Me telling somebody that, okay, here's what you're going to do, and if you need to make changes, whatever, you have the authority to do that. But I, as leader by title, I am ultimately responsible. The buck stops here, and that's something that we're not seeing a lot of these days, especially in government.
Yeah, and we could talk for days on that stuff.
Oh yeah, yes.
So I try to avoid that at all costs. However, I do like and enjoy the opportunity to pull out the leadership piece, because I think we all have permission to be a leader at some point in our lives, and sometimes we just have to take the responsibility and personal responsibility for our own leadership. And it's like it's not anyone's fault. This blame game and this victim mentality has to stop at some point in time, and you have to do personal inventory on your skills, just like you have, and you have to look at things and say, okay, what do I do well, and what do I enjoy doing, and what would people pay me for, and what is the value I bring to the table. And I think there's actually a system, and you may have come across it. Ikigai.
Ikigai is
Ikigai.
Yeah, I've seen that diagram before. It's actually an American diagram that goes back to the 1920s, and what happens in the center of that is your purpose. And Ikigai is a Japanese word that's close to that, but not quite the same sense that we have about it in America. So it's nothing magical. Ikigai is nothing magical. It's about your life's purpose.
Yeah, it's just finding out, and a lot of us, bounce around in our early 20s, and we kind of get a few experiences, and we figure out, okay, I like this better than that, and I enjoy doing some of this, and oh wow, people will pay me for it. And then we kind of fall into this career and this groove, and it sounds like for yourself, you made a decision early. You went to ROTC, you came in as an officer, and you launched your career. You had a good, solid, successful career, and now you're going back on, and you're doing a second career. It's
yeah. Well, it wasn't quite as smooth as that sounded, but I originally went in. I wanted to be a pilot, of course. Every kid wants to be a fighter pilot, and that didn't work out for me for a bunch of reasons. And they said you can stay in or get out, and I had a degree in history, and I'm like, geez, the only thing I could do with that is go get a teaching credential. That means going back to school. I don't want to go back to school, so they let me become an intelligence officer, and I had a lot of fun with that.
They let you stay, huh?
Yeah. So
invited you to stay. Hey, I wanted to say hi to some of the pirates in the room. Wendy's here this morning. Good morning, pirates. Thank you so much, Wendy, for being here. She helps people write children's books. She's awesome, and so thank you for your lifetime of service, she says. JD is in the room. Jim and all the pirates around the world, thank you so much for being here. And don't be embarrassed to say it. It's okay. Some of us civilians have it too. She's talking about PTSD.
Exactly, Wendy.
Yeah, it's just be kind to yourself. That's all I'm going to say.
Yes, absolutely.
It affects your life. It doesn't matter the severity. and that you're absolutely right. Reach out. You don't have to deal with it alone, PTSD alone. So that's absolutely true. And then Wendy Runge says, pirates have such wonderful purposes. Welcome to Russ John's posse. So
Thank you,
you.
Wendy. Thank you.
Jim, you're now part of the posse. So connect with Jim on LinkedIn and tell him Russ sent you because you're a pirate, and use that reference, personalize it and let him know that you're part of the posse now. And really, I think that's part of the process of us. I've had my challenges with, depression, isolation, and things like that, and in my life, and as most of us do at some point in time. And I think the more I isolate myself and the more I withdraw, it's not necessarily a productive outcome,
Right.
And I think what we need to do is build community, start conversations, and have some
Absolutely.
interaction so you can see, even if it's not you experiencing some brighter days, you can imagine there's some hope out there. And so, that's something we need to think about and consider. So, So Jim, I know that you're working on some courses and some coaching material. So talk us through that process and what that's going to look like for you.
Well, the course that I'm getting out there first is about how to deal with overwhelm and stress at work and effectively become a team leader. It's simply methods to refocus, to take back control, and how to be a good leader of a team. So it's a good course for entrepreneurs that have a few employees that are finding themselves stressed out, as you said, not sure what to delegate. It's about new managers, mid-level managers, all the way on up to CEOs. If they're not feeling their groove, or they're stuck, or they're not sure what's going on, they use this course and take a look at where they are and make an assessment and have some techniques to move forward. And then my coaching in general is aimed at executives and that same area of stress and how to take control. And then my consulting is around leadership and large-scale change, transformational change, and business process design that focuses on people as the generators of the business process, not as cogs in the machine.
Actual people?
Yeah, actual people doing actual work to take care of other actual people.
Yeah. It's interesting to see because, every argument has two sides, and every position has a possible different outcome. And when you look at things, it's never, it's not always as we see it. There's a lot of people that look successful that may be miserable. And I think especially in the leadership role, or especially in higher responsibility positions, there's a lot of people that are miserable. And so, our culture has often said, it's like, hey, just tighten up your bootstraps, just go out and get it done. And there's a lot of pain involved in that. It's a little toxic in some cases. And that passes along to other people. If you're in a leadership role or you're in a position that has to provide authority to other people and you're miserable, that falls down into the organization. That I think is transfers. So is that something that we can manage and learn how to change and evolve over time, or how does that process work in leadership?
Yeah, it is. Here's the thing. People talk about, our greatest resources are employees, business is all about building relationships, but we don't really act like it. We just view work in a very mechanistic way. F equals MA, you're going to take this piece of paper, you're going to make some changes to it, you're going to pass it on, and that's work. That's not what work is. Work is about taking care of each other. Nothing gets done without people talking to each other. And that involves everything that you are as a human being being brought into the room. Your concerns, your frustrations from home, whatever it is that affects your mood. It's not as simple as just, go turn on the lathe and cut the metal. It's who is this for? How is it best produced? How do we define quality? How do we as people interact with each other inside the company and outside the company to take care of each other? It's really, really, really about taking care of real human concerns. I don't want a car. I want an ability to go from place to place with a certain level of luxury and size because I've got kids to take to soccer practice. I want the ability to move. Yeah. I don't want a car. So it's really getting to the human needs of all of your customers, internal and external. People buy things to take care of some human need that they have. And that's what leadership is, taking care of your people so they can take care of the customers.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. I know that, in my experience, I've been in different positions in corporate America and in and out and in leadership roles. And I like what you said with the master sergeant, the chief master sergeant, is you're delegating authority for them to take action and do something else. And if you can provide that frame of reference in what we're doing, it's very empowering. Rather than saying do this task, now it's you have the authority to get this completed, and use your resources as you would use your resources for yourself. A lot of times I don't care how you get it completed, as long as you get it completed. It may not be the way I would complete it. It may be 10 times better than the way I would complete it. It's not for me to say. It is for me to say, how can I help remove the roadblocks that allow you to be successful? And that's what you're talking about, this ability to watch out for each other, help each other grow, and allow people to learn along the journey. I think it's important for us to inject that into the equation when we're talking about, business and leadership, and teach people, allow them to experience life and things like that along the way. I like that. I like the idea of that learning together.
Yes. Yes.
It's a shared experience, and I enjoy that type of when I receive it from leaders. It's nice to be able to say, okay, I've learned something new because I've experienced it through somebody else's perspective.
Yeah. The old saw about you've got 2 ears and one mouth, or 2 eyes and one mouth, using in that proportion, really holds true. Pay attention to what's going on. Listen to people. Let other people speak, and let them contribute. And you'll find out that most of your people are more creative than you thought.
Yeah. And people have the ability to do great things when they're given the opportunity. So
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Jim, this has really been. I like these conversations. I really enjoy this. Leadership and learning and education is really important for myself personally, and I know that there's a lot of pirates in the community that appreciate it as well. So. Thank you so much for being here. All the gratitude in the world, all the success that you deserve. And again, Everyone, Jim can be found on LinkedIn. Connect with him. All of the notes will be in russjohns.com/pirate broadcast in his post, his podcast, and the transcription will share all of the links to his social media platforms. Any words of wisdom you want to leave with us before we wrap up today?
I think one thing that people get scared a lot about is theories. I don't want theories. I hate theories. I want practical knowledge. Well, we live in a world of theories. The outside world is not what we think it is in our heads. And probably the most valuable lesson I learned from consulting is the map is not the terrain. It's a very particular way of looking at the terrain. It helps you navigate the terrain, but it isn't the terrain. And so different maps will help you more. So anybody else's interpretation is just as valid as yours.
I like that. The map is not the terrain.
Yeah.
So with that, let's enjoy the journey today and move on and do great things.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Russ. And thanks to all the pirates out there.
Jim, it's a pleasure. And thank you so much for being here, everyone. As you know, always, kindness is cool. Smiles are free. And you enjoy the day. Take care. See you soon. Thank you for joining the Pirate Broadcast. If you found this content valuable, please like, comment, and share it across your social media channels. I would love the opportunity to help others grow in their business. The Pirate Syndicate is a platform where you show up, we produce the show. It's that easy. If you want to be seen, be heard, and be talked about, join the Pirate Syndicate today.